Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us for another one of our estimating webinars with Accordant. So today we have myself, Michael Fiducia, and Rob Napa, our Director of Estimating Products. And what we're going to do is show you how to do some 2D takeoff in our ETakeoff solution and how to push that over to Sage estimating using what we call Bridge. So just want to highlight real quick what we're going to go through. Using this solution, we're going to show you how you can increase your accuracy, speed, and functionality when doing your estimates, how to pump out more estimates in half the time and make them drastically more accurate using our best-in-class approach, which again is ETakeoff, Bridge, and Sage estimating. We're going to show you 17.13, that version of Sage estimating, and then also the newest versions of Bridge and Dimension. So what we're going to do is do some on-screen takeoff. We're going to bring that over to our estimate. We can manipulate some of the pricing and data, review it. We'll show you how to handle changes in the drawings and how to quickly make those adjustments back in ETakeoff and quickly send it and update your estimate. So what is our best-in-class approach? It is what we call ETakeoff Dimension, which is our on-screen takeoff tool, using what ETakeoff Bridge to send that over to our estimate. Okay, so ETakeoff Dimension, one of the leading takeoff softwares out there, over 26,000 users. So it's really one of the silent giants in the market. We also integrate, with Autodesk Navisworks and Assemble, which are two of the leading 3D takeoff solutions out there, all utilizing the same integration tool, ETakeoff Bridge. So you wouldn't need to set up, if you do start to get into 3D modeling, you wouldn't need additional integration points to bring it into your estimate. It would all be using ETakeoff Bridge. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Rob, who's going to drive our presentation today, and he'll start in ETakeoff. So I'm going to hand this over to Rob right now. Go ahead, Rob.
Good morning, everybody. Rob Knapp is here. Let's get that out of the way. Michael, you see my the PDF on the screen? Look all right? Oh, there's the show my screen button. Here we go. Now we're doing it. So this is what we're going to show you today. We'll have a, by the way, a little housekeeping. You can ask questions through the chat screen on the GoToMeeting window. And you can ask those anytime you like, and we'll get to them as soon as we can. So what we'll show you is how to perform digital takeoff on PDFs or other electronic digital drawings. And once we perform that takeoff, we'll be able to fine-tune the takeoff, fine-tune the our dimensions, take a good close look at them, and drive them over into an estimate for pricing. Now, the estimating software on the right-hand side of the black arrow, that is Sage Estimating Core and Core Plus. I'll be showing you Core Plus today. We can talk about the differences a little later on. And in behind that estimate you're looking at is a database, and a database of costs and your processes and procedures. So if you're a self-performing subcontractor or a self-performing, GC, nobody understands your prices better than you. So you build those processes, procedures, costs, overheads into a database that you use over and over again. And you modify the estimate on a job-by-job basis, just like you do today. More than likely, most of you are using Excel. Our estimating tool looks a lot like Excel and acts a lot like Excel, but it has your company standards in the database in the background. I'm sorry, hold on. Sorry about that. So what we'll do is we'll perform takeoff, much like you do today. You're measuring walls and areas and getting your dimensions and quantities. And we're going to send those quantities into the estimate. It's going to reach into the database and pull out the costs of labor and materials that are associated with those dimensions. So I'm going to get started. This is ETakeoff. Michael mentioned the number of users ETakeoff has. ETakeoff's been around in the marketplace for 12 years or 13 years or more. It used to be in all the Dodge plan rooms, and now it is a Sage-supported product. And frankly, it's the best digital takeoff tool on the market today. It has the most functionality. Hang on a second. Okay, there we go. I had to move something out of the way. It has the most functionality and the greatest results and the ease of use on the market today. There are plenty of these digital tools out there, and they all, and probably some of you are already using one of them. However, ETakeoff kind of takes it to the next level. And since we can drive our dimensions over into an estimate, that pretty much has everybody else beat. We can also drive to Excel. So if you're stuck in Excel, we can work with you there too. However, we hope to show you a much better tool. So the way the screen is laid out here is the center, of course, is our PDF, and we can roll this scroll wheel in, zoom out, and move the drawing around, of course, easily. Now, a couple of things that I want to mention. This is a native PDF drawing. You can tell it's a PDF by its crispness, how beautiful it is. A lot of these other digital tools can't open a PDF. They have to convert it to something else. And sometimes that conversion to, let's say, a TIFF takes a long time. On a large job, it could take a half an hour to an hour to convert all the drawings before you can even start performing takeoff. With ETakeoff, we open native PDFs. And the way you start a job, unbelievably easy. You click New, you point to the folder on your server or on your workstation where all of those drawings are, click OK, and it instantly opens all of those PDFs down here in the lower left window. By the way, something important, you should have multiple monitors on your desk. If you don't already, you need to get the boss to get you a couple of more monitors. At least one more, maybe two more. Have 3 monitors on your desk. Unbelievable productivity boost. These control panels on the left and the right-hand side, you would drag over to another monitor so that you can have more real estate on your main screen for the drawing. I can't do that on a GoToMeeting because you can only see one monitor at a time. And then over on that third monitor, you might have your email open or something else open that you need every single day. It's a great productivity enhancement. But today, I'm a little crammed because I can only show you on one monitor at a time. So just get that out of the way. Down in the lower left, like I said, are your drawings. If you have a single PDF with multiple PDFs bundled into that single PDF, it automatically opens all of the PDFs for you. Okay, so it's a very, very powerful tool. In the upper left, this control panel is called the traces. These are the things we're going to use, right, to draw dimensions on this drawing. On the right-hand side are our quantities and measurement summaries that where the results of those dimensions will show up. So that's the layout of the screen. So let's start. For those that aren't using a digital tool, let's just start from the beginning, nice and easy. We've got plenty of time today to show you how this software works. I want to get some easy stuff out of the way. So if you want to take off a very simple area on this drawing, you click the area trace on the left-hand side of the screen. And you'll notice on the right side of the screen, it's looking for the results of our takeoff. All right. Of course, first, we would set a scale. Way up in the upper right-hand corner, you'll notice I've set the scale at 3/32. If there was no scale set for this drawing, it would not have let me proceed past clicking on the area. The scale window would open up and insist that we enter a scale. You can enter standard scales from the list, Or you can calibrate, which means on some drawings there might not be a scale, but you need to find some known distance, just like you do manually today, like an open door, I should say a door opening, right? Click one side, the other side of the door opening, tell it the distance, 3 feet more than likely, and it will scale the sheet for you. You can set scales for all the pages at one time or do them individually as you open them. It becomes a personal preference, basically. Once the scale is set, we're good to go. Double-click area, and if I want to take the area of one of these rooms off, all we do is click corner to corner. Notice when I hold my mouse button down, it automatically zooms into that corner. All right, so we can take this dimension off easily just by clicking the 4 corners, and we have our area and perimeter. It's very, very simple. Length, count, all works the same way. If I wanted to count these pile caps, I would move through the drawing and find them and count them. But I have a much, much better way to count all the pile caps on this drawing and multiple drawings, which I'm going to get to in a few minutes. So let me take that out for the time being. I'm going to remove that as well. Let's get into the meat of the matter. So on the left-hand side, these are called traces. Sometimes in other software, they're called conditions, but these are the things we're going to take off. With ETakeoff, you have total control of the level of detail you can get from a trace. Like Excel, you can build formulas against the trace. We call them extensions. By building an extension, you can develop an unlimited amount of quantities right here in ETakeoff. So I want to show you that. The software comes with templates. And you'll notice that we have a lot of templates for pretty much every, let's call it CSI division in estimating, in construction. So I don't know what you all do. I know that there's mechanical guys on, probably GCs, other contractors. So I can't go through everything that pertains individually to you. I'm happy to get back on a one-on-one meeting with any or all of you to get into depth for your specific needs. This is going to be more of a high overview. So let me show you something in the way of frame and drywall, just to show you the power of ETakeoff and how well this works. So, you know, if I want to take off a metal wall, double click that. Over here, it's looking for my length. And just like we did with that area earlier, we would measure these walls and we would get our length. And we would measure multiple walls like this. And we just continue to find those individual walls, measure them to get our total length for those walls. But let me show you what's possible with ETakeoff. Delete that. Notice I have another metal wall trace called Metal Wall Complete. And you probably would go to, let's go to our, let's find the first floor ceiling plan. Hey, where am I going? There we go. First floor, second floor plan. Zoom in, move around. Here's our doors, right? Walls, office areas, manager's room, housekeeping. So these are individual rooms. And we want to take off the drywall on these rooms. We want to maybe take the hallway drywall or whatever we want to do. We want to take off the metal wall drywall. Double click. Look on the right-hand side now at the quantity list. So this gets a little involved where, hey, with my ETakeoff software, I want to be able to develop a quantity list. Let me see how many studs I have, how many sheets of drywall. So you'll notice my mouse has a little ruler attached to it, and I'm ready to take off. And it's over here looking for the length. of the wall. So let's find each one of the walls that pertain to this particular takeoff and start measuring them. So I move through the drawing and find all of the walls that pertain to this particular takeoff, and I take them off by clicking from one end to the other. And that gives us a length of 94.6 feet. And it's called metal wall complete. Now, however, we call these little windows down on the bottom some variables. You will notice there's a red E on the takeoff. That red E is telling us that we have not answered these questions. They're looking for answers. What's the wall type? All right, let's say the wall type is type number 1. It's asking us to select a wall size. We open up the pull down and say these are 3 5/8 studs. Open the gauge window, 25 gauge. Wall height, 10 feet. Stud spacing every 16 inches. How many sides drywall? 2. And let's choose a sheet size, 4 by 10 sheets. Now I'd like you to notice in the bottom of this window, it's now given us our bill of materials, basically, right? I have 48 sheets. I got 189 feet of track. I got 71 studs, 3 5/8 studs, 2.69 rolls of tape, 9 gallons of joint compounds, and almost 10 pounds of screws. And notice what the name of this assembly was changed to. Wall type 1, 3 5/8, 10 foot, 25 gauge, 2-sided 4 by 10 wall. And that's powerful stuff. There's nobody in the industry that can do this. Now, we can use this same, let's call it assembly, in ETakeoff on multiple drawings and on multiple jobs. So we're building templates, modifying templates to suit our takeoff needs. Pretty wild. Now for those, let's take it to the next level. And let's drive our estimate, our SAGE estimate, with the takeoff. I'm hearing some stuff in the background, clanking around. I don't know who might be on. There's some clanking going on. But anyway, so let's take it to the next level. And this is where we want to be. I want to be able to generate my estimate from my takeoff, right? And pull my costs out of a database that I've set up. And that's where we want to be. We want this estimate to be repeatable. We want to pull out our standard processes and procedures out of the database into our estimate, modify those processes and procedures for this particular job, right? And give us some time with a digital takeoff tool like this, where we can actually have time to modify and manage the estimate better. So let's do that. Over on the left, in our traces window, we have estimating data. This is our database from our estimating tool. We actually have access in ETakeoff to our estimating database. So I want to go back to my foundation. I know you guys, a lot of you don't do concrete. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. Again, we can get on, get on a meeting one-on-one, so we can get much more specific to your work. But for now, I've got to be relatively generic. So notice BNI. BNI data is a database that we've put together that includes tens of thousands of items, hundreds of pre-built assemblies. And it has relative costs for your geographic region. And it has industry standard productivities and processes and procedures that you can modify to suit your needs. It's a complete database. Basically, it's all mapped through ETakeoff to estimating. We say that You can load this software and put an estimate together first day. Now you're going to need some training and all that, but it's done. And it's something that, if you're interested in it, we'll take a deeper dive. But I want to open up some traces, for instance, substructure. And if I want to look at, let's say, some standard foundations, I've got a continuous footing here. Double-clicking on continuous footing, you'll notice, just like it's supposed to, over on the right-hand side, it's opened up our assembly to answer some variables, right? In order for us to answer the appropriate variables to take off this concrete footing. And my mouse automatically has the ruler set up, so we're ready to take off. And it's looking for the length of this continuous footing. And the way we do that, just like we do it before, we can click from point to point, hold the mouse button down to get it where we want it, and continue around this footing. Of course, you can zoom in, do it however you want to do it. This is the easy part. Notice up on top, I have polar mode turned on. That's giving me a nice right angle. Right? You can turn the polar mode off and do circles and do anything else you need to do. So we move across the drawing and we're clicking from one corner to another. Again, I'm just showing you the way it's done. We can get more specific with you guys later. And I have 179.57 feet in length. Now what do? We answer a question. What's our footing width in inches? And we'll say it's 18 inches. All right. What's our depth in inches? Notice what happened. When I entered 18 inches, did you notice that our green line got wider? It went to 18 inches based on the scale of the drawing. That's a great scale checker, because if it was like too skinny or way too wide, giving it 18 inches on this drawing, you want to check your scale. All right, but in ours, it looks like it works out just right at 18 inches. Now we give it a footing depth. Let's say it's 12 inches. We give a quick test on our concrete volume, but this isn't estimating yet. We haven't been in estimating yet, but we get a good look at what the concrete volume should be. And then you open up the windows and you choose what type of concrete. How are we going to place that concrete? Direct chute, concrete pump, right? Form uses. Rebar takeoff method. Let me open that up a little bit bigger. Again, this is really important that you have this on another monitor. Rebar takeoff method, we have several. I don't have any rebar or weight per concrete unit, or I want to take a detailed takeoff. I want a little more detail. Notice how the window opens up. What's our continuous rebar size? We'll choose number 5. How many? I'll say 3, right? What's our transverse rebar size? Now watch, this is important. Notice it says none required for transverse rebar size. However, if I say my transverse is number 3, notice I have to now give it a spacing. Same thing with a dowel. All right, if I say our dowels are number 6s, now I need the dowel spacing and how long they are. Pretty wild. This gets us, answers to our specification questions on this footing, right? So, when we're ready to go, hang on. Beg your pardon. Got to answer my transverse size. The spacing rather, sorry, I'm going to say that's every 2 feet. There we go. So now we're done with that takeoff. We're good to go and move on. So we go over to the next thing we want to take off, maybe a slab. But in this case, I want to show you something very interesting, very powerful about this takeoff software. We have these piers, and there are couple of hundred of them, of these piers. And we need to count them. So yeah, I can go over into the count mode and count each individual one. I want to show you what we call our pattern search. And pattern search is auto count. And it's really the only auto count on the market that actually works. So let's go over into our special foundations, and notice I have a pile cap. And there is our pile cap assembly waiting for our answers. Okay, let me move that out of the way. Now, I can go around this drawing and click on each pile cap that I find, right? But we have a tool right up here in my quick access toolbar, that little lollipop thing called pattern search. So what I want to do is start the pattern search. I'm going to put a little box around this pattern like that. Now, I'm going to ask it to go out to this on this drawing and go find everything that looks like that and search it immediately in the background. Not in the background. I want to watch it search. So when I click search, it's going to search this drawing for everything that looks like that. Now, a couple things are going to happen in a minute. Bear with me. There we go. Here are all of the, here are the research results. And these are all the pile caps it thinks are the same. Now, one of the important things about this for you estimators is that this software speeds up your process, but doesn't take the estimating out of your hands. Because you'll notice that there's a whole lot of those pile caps in behind a bunch of other lines and nonsense, right? So the software is pretty sure that this is what we're looking for, but it's not 100% sure. It needs your review so that you can choose whether or not these are truly all of the ones that apply to this takeoff. So I'm looking at this, you know, there's some lines in here, some lines in here, and I look at it and I realize, yes, these are definitely all of the pile caps I'm looking for. So I am going to click the top one, shift key bottom one to select them all. However, I happen to know, because I've reviewed this job and I've reviewed this drawing, that there are 4 of them, these 4, that don't apply. They're a different spec. So I want to eliminate them from this count. Right? Now what we can do is review, click the button up on top, this count on the drawing. And you'll notice there they are. All of them are counted, and those 4 were removed from the green count because they're different. All right, so I end the review. We're back to that count. I'm going to save them. Notice up top, 236 of them. Right? Pretty good. Hang on a second. Oh, I just lost. I clicked the wrong place. Sorry, guys. And we have our pile counts. There we go. Notice we now answer our questions, our variable questions. Let me open this up just a little bit. I have a round one, which is triangular or other, right? And let's say the square footage of each one. I'm just going to put some numbers in here so we get a large volume so we can see, you know, tell what all these are. So we'll say it's a 10-foot perimeter just for grins, and the pile cap depth would be 30 inches, and we get our big concrete volume, and then we answer the other questions. How are we going to fill these? You know, what's the PSI? What's our placement? I'm going to say hand buggy. That's going to really hurt. 4 uses of forms, number 6 rebar, and so on. We're done. We're done. We notice we got a black E. That means we have completed that takeoff. So what do we do now? We take off the slab, and then we start moving through the specification and moving through the drawings to take off everything that we're going to take off. We stay in the drawing as long as possible till we get everything done. Or if I want to check my costs on concrete, I can drive this over right now into estimating and take a look at it, see what we got. Let's do that. We've taken off a foundation, continuous footing, and we've taken off the pile caps, and now we're going to go drive it over into estimating. I don't see any questions to answer. Do we have any questions yet, Krista? All right.
No questions yet.
Okay. All right, good. So, produced some takeoff. I got some results. Notice up here on the upper right-hand corner, we've got our continuous footing on our pile caps. Well, I'm going to start this thing called bridge. Bridge is what bridges us into our estimate. And you should find this very interesting. As bridge opens, oh, I want to turn that bridge off. I apologize. Sorry about that. I actually have a bridge set up, but I'm going to remove that and start a new one. Here we go. So we're going to start a new bridge. And we're going to call it webinar 09-2018. And down here, I'm going to grab the drawings that I am using, our La Quinta Hotel. And right here, I'm going to add or create a new estimate. We're going to call this webinar 09-20-18. Now you'll notice the database it's using is our BNI database. You saw BNI over on the ETakeoff side in the traces window. And we're going to say, okay, so it's actually going to generate a new cost estimate from our takeoff. Okay. So what the software will do, it'll reach out and it looks at all of our assemblies and items from our database. This is the bridge that's going to bridge us over into estimating. And what we do is we click the automatic button and it automatically goes out and finds everything we took off this morning, our continuous footing and pile cap. We can review this takeoff if we want to here by opening it up. And you'll notice that in a second or so, you'll see all of our dimensions that we've developed from that assembly, from that takeoff. But we don't want to do that. We don't need to do that. The only thing we need to do is click this green button. It's initializing the estimate. It's telling us 2 measurements were added successfully to our estimate. Pretty nice. And all we got to do now is go to the estimate. You notice our pile cap concrete. Noticed our concrete reinforcing, forms and accessories. It's now developed for us, so let me change this layout. Notice I have a subcontractor layout. I want to go sub this stuff out. Even though I have my own cost in this estimate, we'll sub it out. Or we can change and modify the layout of the spreadsheet to anything we set up. Let's go to our CSI standard. You can take a look at that. We have another way to lay this out. Hang on. There we go. So this is our Estimating Core Plus, which allows us to set up crews, which reveals for us our standard, our industry standard productivities, and you modify these productivities to suit your needs, and it gives us our labor quantity of man hours and days based upon these productivities times the takeoff quantities. Our labor price per day total labor, and then our material costs. So it sets us up by CSI code format. We can look at it by assembly, by clicking the assembly button on the bottom, down here on the bottom where these tabs are. We can look at our continuous footing assembly and our pile cap assembly. And you'll notice our takeoff quantities, our units, and our unit cost and total cost. This was derived from the takeoff, down to the detail level of materials and labor. And that's pretty powerful. No questions yet. You guys with me? I must be doing a terrific job to not have any questions. So let's look at the estimate for a minute. I've got some time. If we scroll across the estimate, we'll notice we have labor costs, which you can modify, material costs, vendor names, subcontractor, equipment, other costs. These are our unit prices right here. Now, anything on this spreadsheet, just like Excel, can be modified. Let's talk about that for a minute. Let's say continuous concrete. I got 9.98 cubic yards, and my pile cap concrete, I've got 218 cubic. I wanted that to be a big number so we could see it. Notice over on the material side, we have $155 a cubic yard. Well, that's not what you pay. That's not what you pay. Let's make an adjustment. We can simply change that number, but I'd like to make an adjustment, and I'll show you why. I want to replace that number with 146 bucks. It's a pretty big job. I get a good deal on this concrete. Click OK. Notice it changed both of those because they're both the same concrete. They're just being put in a different place. We also have a red tick on that cell to tell us what the original was. Audit trail. Very important. We believe in audit trail. We want to be able to go back and say who made that change and why. Well, why? We probably want to add a note to why we changed that number. And that note will travel with that line item forever if you wanted to. We think audit trail is critical. Let's say these, let's say the concrete on this is very difficult. Can't get the truck back close enough. We got a hand buggy, all that cast in place, all that pile cap concrete, right? So this is a very difficult job. You can paint this productivity column and say, you know something? I want to adjust this column by a percentage, and I'm going to take 25% out of my productivity. Notice every line now has a red tick telling us what we adjusted it by and what the original number was. What that did was completely modified our labor quantity of hours and our labor cost based on our daily price. Now, this database might not be for all of you that are on the meeting with us this morning. Some of you guys are subcontractors, you want more detail. Some of you guys want less detail. You want to see your labor cost by the hour. No problem. We have many different databases you can choose from to start, and you'll modify it to suit your needs. We'll help you build your own custom data. We'll show you how that's done. I'm giving you an overview. We have to get into more detail later on. I'm going to stay here in estimating for a minute because what we're looking at is costs, correct? So we look over on the right-hand side of our estimate. We're seeing our total costs. We don't have any add-ons or markups yet. So let's go to the totals page. Here's our totals page for this estimate. And you'll notice it's showing our totals of labor on labor and hours, material, any subcontract numbers, equipment. So there's our costs so far. What you will do is you will build a list of markups and add-ons. I don't have any, but you'll build a database of markups and add-ons. way you do that is you create an add-on in the database thusly. Add-on number 1. We like profit. We hope to have some. So we can base this profit on anything we want to base it upon. In this case, it's based upon a category of labor, material, subcontract, equipment, and other. Or we want to make the profit markup based upon the current total right here. Let's make it 20% would be awesome. Make it allocatable. I want to spread it out into the estimate. We can also take a look at our range choice. We can actually base this upon a phase or a location or an alternate or some other division in this estimate. We can get very, very granular with this markup. All right, so we're done. There we go. There's our mark. There's our profit. We can also do something else. I like showing this because it's a very powerful calculation. Add-on number 2 might be, oh, I should have done profit on this one, but we're going to do this as a contingency. We like contingencies as well. Let's make this on the total, but let's make it on the estimate total, make it 10%, and make it allocatable. Now, what's interesting about the difference between current and estimate, watch this. You'll notice that our contingency is based on that number. It's added it in and then done the fancy math to base the contingency on that number. Very powerful tool. Now you can build a markup against your labor, overhead against general conditions, on and on and on and on. Unbelievable flexibility in making the add-ons. And then, since I made these allocatable, when we close up our window, or we look at the background, let's just slide this down here, you'll notice there's our add-on. So here's our cost. Here are all the add-ons that we've added in, and there's the grand total of what we're selling it for. Powerful tool. Okay, let's get back here to ETakeoff and get back to ETakeoff for a second, because I need to show you, I want to show you where we can make changes in the takeoff, which will drive the estimate. So let me click over to the assembly view. You will notice that on the takeoff quantities, we have little blue tick marks. What that's telling us is these dimensions were derived from ETakeoff, right? That means that you can take off with assemblies here in estimating, or take off items in the estimating tool as well. This separates, this blue tick mark separates ETakeoff takeoff from manual takeoff. Now, let's say our continuous footing has changed. Let's say we get an addendum drawing. We can overlay the addendum drawings in ETakeoff and find the differences, and we have to add or modify this continuous footing. We can drill back to the ETakeoff bridge. And here's what's going to happen. It's going to, in fact, open up the bridge that applies to this job. It highlighted for us the continuous footing where there is a change. It is showing us everything that we've generated, including what we call WBS codes, right? Where we can actually separate the estimate or resequence the estimate by any user-defined categories. And it shows us what the original assigned takeoff was. Pretty neat. So we drill back, and it's even highlighted it on the drawing with those little yellow dots. So we're back into the continuous footing in takeoff. And maybe, right, maybe this continuous footing is changed this way end this way, right? Maybe I can make this much longer, right? So maybe the continuous footing itself is now been changed, the length. And maybe we even change, let's say the rebar. I'm going to make this change up to 5,000 PSI concrete. Maybe this now, the continuous rebar size, the specification's been changed to number 7. So you make a change that applies to this footing. That's pretty wild. It's brought us right back to that takeoff item and allows us to make changes. By clicking and now I can take off more of the pile caps. I can take off other aspects of this drawing to your heart's content. Whatever has changed and whatever's been added, you take it off now in the background. And then we refresh our drawing, our bridge. You'll notice a couple of things. Notice there's a pencil on our continuous footing. What does that mean? By hovering over the pencil, it tells us that that's been changed. The continuous footing is changed. You'll also notice that in our continuous footing assembly, we have changes. That's what was originally assigned, and this is the new takeoff. You'll also notice that that button is flashing red. Important. We have to do something about this. If we realize that works for me, I made the change, I now have 200 feet and number 5 on the concrete strength, 5,000 PSI. That change, I agree with that change. I click the button, stops flashing, we're good to go. I even want to say that this is changed, where are we? 09/2018. So I'm even going to note that that's been changed, just so everybody sees it. Fantastic. I'm done. I'm clear. No flashy red lights. Let's send it back to estimating. We're good to go. We go back to the estimate. And we will notice our continuous footing, change notation, new quantities. Reprices everything according to the change. Now here's the good part. Remember I said earlier, we really like audit trail. So if I right click on that assembly and go and review that assembly, you will notice that there's been 3 passes at this assembly. Our first pass, date and time stamp, was 179 linear feet, and so on. Our second pass, date and time, reversed the first pass. This is important. Our third pass replaced it with 200 feet. If we want to go back and use the first pass, we can in our estimate. Because maybe there was an error in here, or they go back and say, oh, never mind. We can go back and use the first pass in our estimate. But now it's using all the quantities and costs based upon the third pass. And that's where we get our new volumes and our new takeoff quantities and our new costs. We can open it back up in phase item and notice our quantity for our continuous footing concrete is up. Our labor cost is up, right? The number of hours it takes to place it is up. Everything's been changed. Pretty good. That's pretty much what we were looking to show you today, is integrating a 2D takeoff with our estimating tool. Basically, automatically pulling out your data or your standard processes and procedures and allowing you to modify now this estimate to suit this job. There's something that I'd like to show you. It's very important when it comes to our estimating tool. For instance, notice we have crews assigned to every item in this estimate. Well, who's in this crew? Right? To hand buggy all of these cubic yards, right? Who's in this crew? Well, we base this crew on one laborer. Well, that might not be how you do it. Maybe you want, certainly in this case, one laborer is not going to be able to hand buggy 218 cubic yards. This is where estimating comes in. Nothing's taken out of the estimator's hand. We get the mundane stuff of measuring all the walls into the estimate quickly so that you can now manage this estimate and build it the way you want it. So here's the thing. Let's close that just a second. Notice it's going to take 29.14 days. It's 7.5 cubic yards a day. That's forever. So there's a couple ways we can look at this line item. We can actually open this up and start adding resources to this crew thusly. We could do it the other way. And this is where this software really shines. Let's say you have 10 days. Notice I'm under the labor quantity column. We got to get this done in 10 days, guys. What does that mean? That means they better be throwing almost 22 cubic yards a day at this. Well, maybe hand buggy is not the way to do it, so we substitute this out for a concrete pump or something like that. Yes, we can do that as well. We can, in fact, substitute the item for something else. But check this out. I'm going to open this crew. Notice our crew cost for 10 days. Open this up. Say, let's put 6 laborers on this. Let's open our resources, right, and put however many other guys we need on this job, right? So we got common bill. Let's put a truck driver on it and a carpenter on it and a bricklayer. We can start adding, again, this resource list will be yours. You build the resources that pertain to you. So now I've modified this crew a lot. I need 3 truck drivers, right? I need 3 bricklayers, and so on. Modify the crew to suit the task. Click OK. Ooh, do you want to use the modified crew for all affected items in this estimate? Well, it all pertains. I want all these guys to do everything, or just use it for this one item. No, I want to use it for all of those items. So you have our labor cost now goes up exponentially. I know I'm kind of showing you some wacky numbers, but I want it to be obvious how this works. You have full control over every single line item in this estimate. That's the idea. Okay. Any questions? Nobody has any questions. How's that possible? Can you guys hear me?
No questions, John. That's because we got the smartest of the smart estimators with us today.
I got to tell you, these guys are, I'm hoping that they like what they see. Something I want to review real quick. Let's say you want to sub some of this stuff out. Let's say you want to sub out that pile cap concrete, right? So let's say you click on sub amount. We have this thing called a bid grid. We can call it pile caps. There's our self-perform number. Now we can actually reach down into the database and list our subcontractors. I got a terrible list of subcontractors because it's a new version of the software. But I've got, you know, Andy's Concrete gives me it sends me a number. I'm sorry, I should have picked a couple of them. Hold on. And Joe's Concrete. Andy's in at $480 a cubic yard. Joe's doesn't give us a unit cost. He gives us a price of 100 grand. Does the math for us. Well, you know something, I like Joe's Concrete. I want to use that subcontractor to pour that concrete for me. and I want to clear my numbers out of the estimate. So now Joe's in at $457 a cubic yard. Now that's kind of a powerful tool. You put a price together and you realize this is a much bigger job than I want to handle. Let's go get some numbers from some subcontractors we've used before. And Joe happens to be in your database. You can also type in a brand new subcontractor and add that to the database on the fly. Very powerful tool. Oh, and by the way, it remembers everything so that you hear, oh, hey, did you guys hear that Andy says, hey, Joe's in chapter 11? Oh boy. Okay. Well, then let's use Andy instead. Puts Andy's in. Powerful, easy tool. Very simple. We want to give you training on the tool. We have webinars. We have boot camps. We have on-site, one-on-one. The software comes with unlimited toll-free phone support from Sage. We've got 4 minutes. Are there any questions? There has to be a question. Somebody give me a question, or I feel like I haven't done my job. Did you just hear
Rob,
crickets?
I think you just did a great job presenting today.
Well, there you go.
Everybody is in awe.
Yes, there you go. No questions. Well, I'm done. I'm through with the presentation. We're good. Thank you very much. We're going to do 3D takeoff soon. We're going to be doing many more estimating webinars, and we'd love to see all of you on it. And then if you want us to get into more detail with you, we'll follow up with you with a recorded meeting, and we'll follow up with a phone call. And if you want to get on one-on-one and get more, in depth in what you do, we're happy to jump on a go-to-meeting with you. And there's our recap. That's all yours, Michael?
Yep, yeah. So Rob, awesome presentation. I think you really did show so much to these guys that their jaws are probably dropped because they're realizing how much quicker they're going to be able to pump out estimates and how much more accurately. So here's just a quick recap of what we did today. We did some takeoff. Rob showed you the pattern search. We sent it to estimating using Bridge. Once we were in our estimate, we were able to drill down back to that takeoff in ETakeoff, make those changes right on the fly, and update our estimate. So we got that all done within an hour. Obviously, we only did a couple takeoffs, but you can see how quick and dynamic this suite of programs are. And as Rob mentioned, we have webinars coming up weekly now. So next week, we're going to focus on how to build assemblies. We're going to get into 3D takeoff as well, and then show you also Sage's latest version 18 in a few weeks. So hope you guys sign up for more of the webinars. We'd love to have you back. So with no questions, that concludes our presentation. Like Rob said, we're going to follow up with everybody. Here's our information real quick if you want to take either a screenshot or jot it down. But we will be reaching out to all you guys, getting your feedback on the presentation, and seeing if you'd like to schedule a follow-up demo of the software and really hit on your needs and requirements for your business, because I see a lot of you guys are subs, so we want to show you what is pertinent to your business. So with that, I hope everybody has a great day.